समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, so today we start verse 19. The previous verse, of course, was I would not even say a description of the self. There are 12 arrow marks towards the self. So that when you think in that direction, because nothing really can give a definition of the self. So that we had done, in which he says that I am Nirvishaya, I am Sharanam, I am immutable seed, and all that he says. That let's come to the 19th verse. Tapamyaham aham varsham nigranam mrityu srijami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sada asachaham arjuna. It says, as sun, I give heat, I withhold and send forth rain, I am immortality and also death, both existence and non existence, O Arjuna. Now look at this statement. This is actually a scientific statement. It is a statement of meteorologists, and it talks about the sun and its function. And he says, I as the sun, that means Aditya or the sun is the Lord's energy functioning through that object, the sun. So he says that as the sun, I give heat. Now, first, let's take this. I give heat. Dusra, see, when I say, when the electricity says that I am the heat in the heater, and okay, I am whatever you say, I am the light in the bulb, I am the coolness in the air conditioner. So, electricity is right. It can say that, because without electricity, these things cannot function. We have done this example many times, this electricity one. So, the warmth of life, whether it's your own body, it's an animal's body, it is the generative power of a seed, it is the water pumping through the sap, pumping through a tree. Take anything at all. It is all he alone. And so, the warmth of life, anything that is warm to the touch and has movement, has life. When somebody dies, लोग क्या कहते हैं ना, वो एक phrase है ना, ठंडा हो गया. ठंडा हो गया means there is no life in that person. When the blood pressure falls in your body, suddenly your hands, feet, and all start getting cold. We know that, isn't it? So similarly, the heat of the body, your blood is warm. कहीं से bleeding हो तो आपको दिखता है, the blood is warm, right? Anything coming, excreting from the body has warmth because your body has warmth. Now, just think about it. Even controlling that much of heat is the life force. Your temperature, it has to be a certain degree of temperature. If it goes a little above that, 1 degree above that, बुखार हो गया, है ना? You are sick. If it falls below, you will die. If it goes much above, you will die, isn't it? How much of heat is controlled in your body by whom? It is this life force, he functioning as the life force. Again, heat, the sun. Think of Aditya. The sun, if it becomes just a few degrees warmer, just a few degrees, mind you, what will happen? All the flora and fauna of the world will die. It will burn up. If it becomes cold, then what happens? Just a few more degrees of cold that the sun has. Then again, the same thing happens. So, life persists in this world only because of the control that the sun has, not only on your life, on vegetation, on the life of animals and plants, birds, bees, everything, insects. It also controls your activities. The sun controls your activities or not. When the sun rises, the whole world slowly wakes up, right? It slowly wakes up, the birds, the animals, the you wake up, and similarly, which has called natural rhythms of the body, they are controlled by the sun. The sun sets, slowly the world starts retiring. Every creature in the world starts retiring. So he says, as the sun, I give heat. Because the question was that if he is a non-doer, he doesn't do anything. So he's a witness, huh? And he has no freedom in doing anything at all. So then what good is he? How do you call him a master? He has got certain things in his hand. Through these equipments like the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the rain, the thing, he controls life. He is the supreme controller. Look what he says here. I withhold and send forth the rain. That is also the function of the sun. We all know it. Huh? The weather people know it. Scientists know it, isn't it? That it is the job of the sun to suck up the water, bring down the rain. So, to withhold rain and to give rain is also the job of the sun. And the Lord says, I, as the sun, give the heat, withhold, send forth the rain. I am immortality and also death. अब immortality और death का क्या है यहाँ पर? एक चीज समझना कि this verse is a scientific statement and given out in verse form. Nowhere in the world, whether it is chemistry, whether it is biology, whether it is engineering, it has to do with the weather, change of weather, whether it has mathematics or medicine. It is only the Aryans who have depicted all these subjects in poetry form, in metrical compositions, which are nowhere there in the world except here. Because see the beauty of it all. See the beauty of it all. It is all done. So they used to sing, this is a song, Geeta is a song, and it is sung. So this scientific truth is sung. So how it controls the sun controls every experience of yours. So it also controls immortality and also death. That just think, life and death it controls. Death is change. The word change. So it controls every possible change. Mrityu, the word used, is the meaning is change. So it controls the birth and the death. These two switches he has kept in his hand, isn't it? No matter what you do, आप कितनी किलाबंदी कर लीजिए, this medical insurance, contacts with big doctors, access to the best hospitals, कुछ भी कर लो. But these two, when he makes a switch off, it is a switch off. That is the end of matter. So that these two switches he has got in his hand. Now another thing is that, of course, your health, your wealth, come to think of it, everything is in his hand. Okay. Now then also what he does, immortality and also death. Now this is relative. When you say that everything is seemingly real, it is not truly real. So the example Gurudev gave was like water on the desert. Desert is the base which shows you a lake in the heat. So here since he's talking about the sun, now the sun rays create the effect of light where it is not. The sun rays creates the effect of water where water is not, isn't it? So here also he says that seemingly the self is the spark of life, that is the Gurudev says is the essential stuff. The phenomena of death, the phenomena of life is all in his hands. Change is death, and the illuminator of that change, the person who can see any change, the stuff that can see any change is he himself. And this is the most interesting, that I am existence and non-existence. Now think about it. You can know what your eyes see, what your senses experience. But you also know, the word know I'm using, you also know what the senses cannot experience. That non experience is also known by you. For example, when you get up from deep sleep, you say, I knew nothing. I slept very soundly and I knew nothing. You say that. So look at the contradictory statement you are making. I knew means I know, and nothing. How can you know nothing? You experienced nothing. So the Lord's power was there, that pure consciousness, the pure knowledge was working through you even in sleep. In a dark room. See, in light, you say, okay, reflected light shows up objects and all that you say. When you say that in the dark, I see nothing. You can see objects, but how do you see nothing? But don't you make that statement? I see nothing. That means even to see that nothing, there has to be a generator working inside you to show you in the light of pure consciousness only you can say that I see nothing. Think about it. Think about it. So, the existence also you see of things and the non existence also. You are conscious of the non existence. Now, without this illuminating factor, you can neither see or experience the unmanifest, nor you can experience the manifest world. So here it is. And then he is into everything. He says, oh Arjuna. So he is telling Arjuna that understand I am everywhere. Now come to verse 20th. Here the meter changes because he is changing the changing what he was saying. त्रैविद्या मां सोपमा पूतपापा यज्ञैरिष्ट्वा स्वर्गगतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यमासाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोक मश्नन्ते दिव्यान् दिवि देवभोगान्. The second next verse. ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं काम कामा लभन्ते. Okay, so these two verses are done together. I'll read the translation. The knowers of the three Vedas, the drinkers of Soma, purified from sin, worshipping me by sacrifices, pray for the way to heaven. They reach the holy world of the Lord of the gods, and enjoy in heaven the divine pleasures of the gods. And the second verse says, They, having enjoyed the vast heaven world, when their merits are exhausted, enter the world of the mortals, thus abiding by the injunctions of the three Vedas, desiring objects of desires, they attain to the state of going and returning. Okay, this is a much often quoted verse which says, this one, Kshine Punya Marte Lokam Vishanti. A lot of, you will notice a lot of brahmacharis saying it, a lot of seekers saying it. So when they go for satsang, they say we are in heaven, we were in heaven, because the joy, inner joy experienced is such that they feel they are in heaven. And then when they come back to their homes in whichever town they are living, they say punya kshine martilokam vishanti. That means whatever good deeds I had accrued, I have cashed them in satsang, and with the cash of punya, I got satsang. And when I have come back, then I come back to the mrityulok. Mrityulok means the what shall I say, the sphere of change. That is mrityulok, where change does take place. Second to second, minute to minute change is taking place. So they come back to that sphere of experience. Now, look at this one. The knowers of the three Vedas, the drinkers of Som. Now, some people would say, okay, Som was an intoxicating drink. It is, it gives over here in the footnotes, you can see if you have the text on you, that it is a plant belonging to the group of ephedrera or periploca, and it is something equivalent, it has a white milky sap inside, which the Aryans used to have a little as part of the end of the ritual. It depicted the end of the ritual. Gurudev used to say, as in parties and dinners and all that, when the last thing that is served is after dinner coffee, for which cups were this little small. I don't know if you people have even seen them, but pehle hua karte the, and I also have a set, this little small cup. Now, how much coffee comes in that cup? That is called a small coffee. So when that was served by the hostess, it meant that dinner is over. Dinner is finished now. This is the last serving she gives, along with a little bit of cheese. But as British etiquette told you, because we are all brought up in that, that you should not pick up that cheese and eat it. It is served by the hostess, but if you pick it up, it means that the food was not enough, I'm still hungry, or it meant the food was not good enough. So I am supplementing it with this cheese. So the manners were that you do not pick up that cheese. So you just have that cup of coffee. Anyway, what I was actually telling you was that that little small cup of coffee, when you say they have had their small cup of coffee, it means that the party is over, it is finished. Similarly, the Aryans had this somaras, little bit of it, to denote that the ritual that they were participating in is finished and done with. Okay. Now, so the knowers of the three Vedas, as I also notice it says three Vedas, doesn't say four. Okay, because all the rituals belong to the first three. And since he's talking to the rituals and the worshipping and the sacrifices and the havan and the home he is talking about, when which people the Vedas give out those for people to fulfill their wishes if they perform those. So they talk of the three Vedas. So he said the knower of the three Vedas, three Vedas can know the surnames are Trivedi, Tripathi, Tripathi who used to recite the three Vedas, Trivedi who used to know the three Vedas. So the knowers of the three Vedas, the drinkers of Som, purified from sin. That means pure minds. Those who worshipping with pure minds, purified from sin only means a pure mind. The purer the mind, the lesser the sin. So purified mind, worshipping me by me here, I have told you again and again, is not Krishna. It means the Lord, the Lord. Call him by any name. Call him Jesus, call him Allah, call him Buddha, call him anything. There is just one power which rules or governs the world. Okay. So, so he says, by sacrifices, pray for the way to heaven. See, all these sacrifices that are listed in the Vedas are for your to purify your mind. Either you do that or to attain things. बारिश हो जाए, पुत्र कामेष्टि यज्ञ, हमको पुत्र मिल जाए, वेल्थ मिल जाए, डिजीज फ्री हो जाए, शुद्धि हो जाए घर की. So these things always aim for a material gain or a spiritual gain. So he says that they pray for way to heaven. No? They reach the holy world of the Lord of Gods. Lord of Gods means that gods here means the potential powers that can give you the potentialities of the giver are called gods. So he says that you reach the Lord of the gods. That means you go to the poshest heaven. Now, heaven, as I've told you, is not an area where you can go. It is neither on top nor below the ground, nor in any direction. है ना? हमारे तो 10 directions होते हैं. Now in the west you only have north, south, east, west. Okay. In India we have एक तो अष्टदिशाएं. अष्टदिशाएं means between north and east, between north and west there are two more, and between west and east and south there are another two more. So there are 8 like this. The बाकी के दो ऊपर और नीचे. Upward and downward is also a disha. So thus dishaएं our Indian philosophy counts, not 4. They are not 4 directions. All the Western compasses show only 4 directions, but we have 10. So that much of detailing. So they reach the holy world of the Lord of Gods. That means they reach the supreme comforts that life can offer. Those people who are very comfortable in life, have everything possible that you can desire in life, are said to be in this kind of heaven. And this they have earned through their punyas. Why isn't everybody in heaven? Some people are very miserable. Look at their family life, look at the life of their children, look at the paucity of money, paucity. I mean, they cannot even have their 4 square meals. So how come? Why the God is not partial? It is the law of the universe playing through, the law of cause and effect. As you do, that you gain. So these people gain heaven and they enjoy in heaven the divine pleasures of the gods. So but he says, now the next verse says, see, every enjoyment has an end. We know this from experience. No matter how much you love that thing, after some time, that very thing ends pleasure, and many times it even starts giving you pain. Start eating rasgullas, very nice, very nice. Second one, third one, fourth one. The fifth one will be a pain beginning. Go to the 11th one, you will throw it out. Isn't it? So the same first rasgulla and same the 11th rasgulla, there's no difference in the rasgulla, but the experience has changed or not. Similarly, he says over here, Te tam bhuktva svarga lokam vishalam, after having enjoyed the vast heaven world, when their merits are exhausted, see, bank balance of punya, you get heaven. Very good circumstances. Now, if you do not add up to that bank balance of punya, that means your karmas are only enjoying what you get and not doing good karmas after that, then that finishes. That bank balance is over. It becomes zero. So when that bank balance becomes zero, then what happens? Kshine punye marte lokam tishanti. You come back to this world of change after the punyas kshina. Kshina means finish. Punya kshine punye marte lokam vishanti. You have to come back to them. Evam trayi dharma. Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante. So it says that by abiding the injunctions of the three Vedas, desiring objects of desires, they attain to the state of going and returning. So वापस आ गए मर्त्य लोकम में. Again they are in the same rituals. They are performing the same ritualistic patterns that they were doing before. And then again they start gaining punyas if they are doing. So they repeatedly come and go, and then they are in the pursuit of pleasures, and so they are born to ritualisms, the ritualistic motions they keep on doing. Come to verse 22. अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्. Okay, this verse is the center of Geeta, the 9th chapter, and also the center of the 9th chapter. I mean, this verse forms the middle stanza of the entire Gita. If you count the verses in the Gita, this one comes right in the center. So it is a very important verse, this one. And the promise that the Lord gives in this verse is the best promise that He gives in the entire, for people like us who are constantly worried. You know, Chintamani types. Constant इसका क्या होगा, इसका क्या होगा, ऐसा होगा तो क्या होगा, ये हो गया तो क्या होगा. And believe me, you have control of nothing. किसी चीज पे तो कंट्रोल है नहीं, वरी पे तो है ही ना, तो करते हैं वरी. At least we can worry. Yeah, carry on, carry on. So you know, उस पे तो कंट्रोल हमारा हक है वरी करने का. हाँ भी, प्लीज कैरी ऑन, कैरी. So some people are habitual worry masters. This verse is the only verse where Krishna actually promises you a tension-free life if you surrender to him. It's a very important verse and a very interesting verse. But then there are conditions to it. He has made his promise, but the promise is conditional to certain things you do. So what are those things? There is a deal over here. So what is the deal? Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate. Paryupasate. Upasate is upasana. Upasana to sab jante hain, hai na? Upasana means sitting near the Lord and worshipping, praying is upasana. Okay. Paryupasana, there is a prefix of pari over here, which means total effort, which means huge effort put in. In what? Yes, yes. With the promise of the Lord is very good. So I want to put in that effort. But in what do I put in the effort? He says, Ananyas chintayanto mam. Dekho, Ananya chintayanto mam. He who thinks of me. चिंता करता है मेरी. चिंतन मीन्स डीप थिंकिंग. ही जो मेरी चिंतन करता है without thinking of anything else, he thinks of me alone. That means total surrender. This verse is telling you to totally surrender to the Lord with a complete surrender attitude, that you are the controller of my life. I have no control. Please do for me what you think is the best for me. Never ask the Lord कि ऐसा कर दो, ऐसा कर दो, ऐसा कर दो. You never know whether it is good for you or not. Ask him to do for you what he thinks in his supreme intelligence, in his super intelligence, what he thinks is good for you. Pray that that may come about. If he thinks it is good for you, not what you desire. Okay. So this is Ananya. Now, see, the Ananya can mean many things, you know. So इसमें अलग अलग meanings हैं अनन्या में. One meaning Gurudev has written is non-separate. Non-separate means it includes you also, है ना? When everything in the world is one. Again, the example of the dream I'm giving you. In the dream, whatever you see is you alone. It is only your mind. Those things are not there. They are very real. They are all there. But it is you alone. So when you worship the Lord thinking that even me, even all the world I see, even all the objects I desire, even anything at all is only you and you alone. When with that mind you worship, it is a non-separate worshipping, Ananya. Hmm? You worship him as the one self, as the only thing that there is. Even science is telling you today, isn't it? That the whole thing is only one. You see variety, but there is no variety. That's what they tell you. You experience variety, you divide things into me and you and his and mine and this and that, but there is no such thing. Think about it. So in the dream, So in the dream, when you say me and you in the dream, does it have any meaning? It has no meaning at all. It is only you. So that. So here me is included, the only thing me is included. And then the second meaning of Ananya is single pointed barreling of thoughts. This word is very interesting, that from a gun barrel, the bullet can only go in one direction. It cannot take multifarious directions on its own. It cannot. Whereas our thoughts do. When we sit down for puja, what happens to the mind? Somebody is seeing a movie, Three Idiots. वो पूरी movie दिमाग में चल रही है. Somebody is having a conversation with either some relative who has been unfair to you, or some friend who said something horrible to you and insulted you, or something or the other is going on all the time in your mind, that you are sitting in front of the Lord with eyes closed and your thoughts are far away and your thoughts are jumping from one to another to another to another. The Lord's condition for Yogakshema Vahamyaham is the barreling of thoughts single pointedly in only one direction. When you worship him like that, that is one meaning. The second meaning. Another meaning, what is the third meaning? Third meaning is that without any other, ananya, ananya. I depend on no one else, just no one else. Huh? It is, आप कहते हैं ना, त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव. And then राम रक्षा स्तोत्र में एक लाइन आती है, न अन्यम जाने न जाने न जाने. That means I am totally dependent on you. I don't know anybody. I truly don't know anyone else who can help me. There is nobody. That is why you say, you are my father, you are my mother, you are my brother, sister, friend, helper, vidya, dhan, sab kuch aap ho. Now, when you surrender like that somebody becomes morally, ethically bound to help you, even in the world, isn't it? When somebody comes to you with a begging bowl and says, आप ही कर सकते हो, मैं तो बड़ी मुसीबत में हूँ, मेरा कर दो, आप करते हो या नहीं उठ के? You feel morally bound to help that person. Now, what about that Lord, who is the supreme power, who has so much of power to do things? So when you do Ananya Bhakti, when your thoughts are those, you worship Him with all your thoughts. Think about it. With all your thoughts, you only look to Him. Single pointed mind, arrows, you aim only at Him. Huh? Then what does He do? He does तेषाम नित्य युक्ता. अच्छा हाँ, फिर ये भी है नित्य युक्ता, Nityabhiyuktanam. This is another condition, that you are self-controlled. Nobody else imposes disciplines on you. You impose disciplines on your actions, your speech, your thoughts. You have to school yourself. ठीक है ना? आपकी speech कैसी है? Are you wise enough to use the correct words? Are you wise enough not to use any words at all when they are not needed? Are you wise enough to know to whom you are speaking and what you should say? No, you are not. Huh? So you have to learn to be self-controlled. You know, people, they say all kinds of things to all kinds of people and they say, मैंने तो कह दिया. तो कोई तारीफ की बात नहीं है, आपने कह दिया. मैंने तो ऐसा बोल दिया. तो उसमें आपकी कोई तारीफ नहीं है. People will never think that, हाँ, bravado, great thing you have done by saying. It is, वो कहते हैं ना, एक चुप हजार सुख. Listen to what people are saying. Listen to what they are talking. You keep your mouth closed. That is wisdom. The less you speak, the less you commit yourself. The less you speak, the less people know that you are a fool. है ना? So here it is. वो बीरबल अपने फादर को ले गए थे अकबर के पास. अकबर demanded that Birbal should bring his father. That if you are so wise, you are so clever, your father must be even more. Now Birbal's father did not have the gift of Saraswati like Birbal had. So he was very scared to go to Akbar कि वो मुझसे पता नहीं क्या पूछेंगे और मैं क्या जवाब दूंगा. Now Birbal took his father, but he told his father, no matter what he says, no matter what he asks you, don't speak a word. Just sit there and just smile. Sometimes smile, sometimes don't even smile, but don't speak. And that is what Birbal's father did. So Akbar was very curious कि भाई ये क्या बात है, ये क्या बात होती है, हाँ? So then when the father had left, he asked Birbal that how come your father doesn't speak? He never spoke anything. He only smiled. So he said that he does not speak foolishly. And if someone else speaks foolishly, he only smiles. He doesn't even comment. So that was a comment at Akbar. But he made Akbar understand that his father is very wise. So look here, what he says, self-controlled. So you have to control your speech, you have to control your actions. And the promise that he gives, look at the promise that he gives. The promise is very interesting. When with an undivided heart, non-separate, and you worship him other than any other, your thoughts are barreled and channelized to the Lord, and you self-discipline yourself, then what happens? He says that yoga kshemam vahamyaham. This is a promise by the Lord. You know, these two words have been taken by LIC. LIC के का लोगो है ये, है ना? योगक्षेम वहाम्यहम, as if they can do it. हाँ, उनसे वो दिया तो जाता नहीं है. प्रीमियम जो बेचारे लोग पे करते हैं, मर जाते हैं, उनका वो देने में भी उनको तकलीफ होती है. Here the Lord is saying yogakshemam vahamyaham. Now he is promising two things. One is yoga and one is kshema. What is yoga? Yoga is trying to get what you do not have. That is yoga. Trying to achieve what you do not have. Yoga. And kshema is safeguarding that which you already have. Even that is a big job. हाँ, ये मत सोचना. Yoga is, okay, let's take an example. Yoga is earning money. मान लो. Effort लगता है कि नहीं? Tremendous self-control, tremendous व्यवसायत्मिका बुद्धि, एक single pointed mind in achieving what you do, whether it is in the spiritual world or whether it is in the material world. In both the worlds, you have to make a similar effort, not thinking of anything else, just this. A businessman, my business, my business, my business. I know somebody who was a friend. जब वो बिजनेस करते थे तो ये करते थे, ये कहते थे ये मेरा पूजा का टाइम है, मुझे डिस्टर्ब मत करना, ये मेरे पूजा का टाइम. भाई पूजा कैसे हैं, आप तो धंधा कर रहे हैं, पैसे कमा रहे हैं. बोले यही मेरी पूजा है, बिकॉज आई डू इट विद सिंगल पॉइंटेड डिवोशन एंड देयरफॉर यू अर्न मनी. If a businessman's mind is running all over the place and he cannot focus on his work, will he gain materially? Nothing will you gain materially, whether it is sports, or it is money, or it is any skill, or it is any talent, it is education, it is the gaining of a degree. In nothing you will gain if your attention is divided. So self attention एक अनन्य चिंता है. तो वो जब आप करते हैं तभी आपको भगवान क्या देते हैं. तो इसमें क्या, सी योगक्षेम वहां में हम ही लुक्स आफ्टर द सीकर हु हैज टोटली सरेंडर्ड टू हिम. तो स्पिरिचुअल जो लोग होते हैं उनको वो क्या देते हैं, ये दे ही गिव्स देम द एनर्जी, द स्पिरिचुअल विगर, द स्पिरिचुअल sustainability to go in one single direction is given by the Lord, which you call the Guru's grace. And the and also the final experience. अच्छा, और क्षेम क्या होता है? आपने पैसा कमा लिया, ओके, कमा लिया, then what happens? सबसे पहले तो टैक्स वालों का डर, टैक्स से आपने बचाया. फिर रिलेटिव्स का डर, रिलेटिव से आपने बचाया. फिर चोरों का डर, फिर चोरों से आपने बचाया. फिर उसके बाद रेड होगी आपके ऊपर, तो उससे आपने बचाया. तो यू नो व्हाट आर यू डूइंग? हैव यू गेन्ड एनी हैप्पीनेस फ्रॉम इट? कमाने में दुख, रखने में दुख, बचाने में दुख, और खर्च करने में तो दुख ही दुख. हाँ, so when in this whole period of gaining material gain, when are you happy? When has it given you happiness? It can give you happiness only when you spend on others and relieve their suffering. That is why अपने यहाँ दान की बहुत महिमा है, बहुत महिमा है दान के. And especially if you can give daan to spiritual masters, if you can give daan to sadhus and facilitate their sadhana, if you can give donation in any place where people will benefit, that is dhan shuddhi. It is called dhan shuddhi. क्योंकि आपके धन कमाने में कहीं ना कहीं गलतियां होती हैं, कहीं ना कहीं किसी को दुख पहुंच जाता है, कहीं ना कहीं उसमें ब्लैक मनी का मादा आ जाता है, कहीं ना कुछ ऐसा आ जाता है which should not be done. Now that becomes अशुद्ध धन. तो धन की शुद्धि is by benefiting others. So he says that I am the one that lends you the power even to give. I am the one that lends you the power even to earn, if you fulfill these other conditions. That is what he says. So you have to channel your thoughts completely towards him. ठीक है? And then you can save your wealth. You can अनन्य चिंतन, बट कहीं से भी और आप चिंता न करें. And totally see, it is not that the Lord does anything, it is the law of the universe. This is the law. If you work for anything single pointedly in one direction, it will materialize, it will take place, it will happen. And it is a law, just like Gurudev gives the example of water, that just like water flows from the higher to the lower, it is a law. It takes the force of gravity and pulls towards the south, isn't it? Similarly, all effort that you do, if it is single pointed and disciplined, will fructify. Self control is very, very important. Single pointed effort is the most important thing that you can gain. So, completely brilliant gains are made if you do this. So, the most important factor, the greatest factor is discipline, where you do not let your mind get derailed into different directions. So, this is it. And that is why the Lord promises you, what will you gain? Yoga kshemam vahamyam. The Lord will give you what you want and also protect what you have already. That is called kshema. This is his promise. So we end here. We will take up verse 23 next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurabhyo Namaha. Hari Om.